Light, non-light, and shadows. Part 1. Matrix is actually the cultivation and extraction of energy through the simultaneous manipulation of time and space. Time is actually a layered field of memory emotional in the first place, in which the hologram of space, in this case 3D, is projected. The primary cause is intention, whose focal point, the real cause, lies in the future, not in the past, as is promoted in schools. Light is the storage space for information as memory, and DNA is actually this storage surface. Basically, we are guided to look in a certain direction, towards the past, where we are presented with a scene of shadows and lights, and told that this is the reason why we are here, in this situation, but in reality, that scene is projected from behind us. From the future, we stand with our backs to the source, to the cause, to the future, and we actually look at the shadow it casts without realizing that, in practice, everything has been twisted. The fields of perception. To keep the energy focused on a certain band of frequency of transmission and reception, in a self-sustaining loop, through indoctrination with false ideas about time, space, energy, light, and everything else. This twisting of perception in which the real cause is perceived as the consequence, the future, and the real consequence, the result, is perceived as the cause, the past, is actually the matrix and its function to keep energy in the repetitive loop. There is only a continuum decoded as space-time, light-dark, sound, smell, etc. by specialized organs and senses. This continuum behaves according to the laws of fluid and torus mechanics. What disappears from the center appears at the periphery, and what disappears from the periphery is already born in the center therefore. What comes has been here before. The senses create perception. There is no evolution. There is only adaptation, specialization, and actualization. We live in the shadow of an event that has not yet happened, or that is happening every moment but is perceived with a delay, and this delay we call perceive as time. That is, the cause of an event is both in the future and in the past. We are not born just because the parents decided or not that they should have a child, but rather the entire genealogical line was created so that we, that essence of what we are now, would manifest in a certain space-temporal configuration. So causality, from a linear point of view, might seem to belong to the past, but in reality, it rather belongs to a future that pulls towards itself the entire series of present events that we call time in a sequential development. At the moment when the egg is fertilized, a manifestation takes place that can be likened to an electrical discharge of high intensity and frequency, a lightning bolt, a spark. That is the central moment of the entire creation, because the universal memory, that is, what we call the soul, aligns, synchronizes with the other existential layers, giving birth to an incarnated being. What we call personality is a game of archetypes, just as the light of a flame reflects on a wall, passing through several overlapping filters placed in its path. The universe is multi-layered and manifests itself in synchronicity. That is why the energy, called sexual, is the first cause of the universe, the primordial flame, the eternal present, the moment when the two poles of the spectrum align, according to an intention. If you keep that flame, spark, primordial lightning lit, or better said, you keep yourself aligned, synchronized with it, you become invisible in the sense that you are, but you are not. And time and space become fields, layers of spontaneous, simultaneous manifestation of synchronicity. Technically, we can imagine a battery accumulator, capacitor with a light bulb attached to it. If we let this two-part assembly run, the light bulb will consume the energy from that battery, but if we add a third element, namely a photovoltaic cell attached to that battery, the light from the bulb will be converted into electricity that will power the battery capacitor, and that battery will keep the light bulb lit. Essentially, this is the scheme of a perpetuum mobile, in which the energy-emitted light becomes fuel if you have a third element, a transducer, that converts what is emitted back into energy. Light feeds the brain with living information. The plastic blocks the spiritual element in the light, that is, that part of the spectrum that activates emotions. The same thing happens with plastic clothes. They block qi, and a stagnant energy means disease. The same applies to plastic lenses or eyeglasses. Light is a storage space for information. But this information can only be enlivened by emotion. Several modulated sound frequencies can create a reality or transpose you into a state of consciousness that makes you, for example, revisit childhood images, relive past moments, for example, listening to symphonic music. This is because consciousness itself is made up of layers of memory, of feeling, which can be accessed by putting the three brains in unison, the cerebral, the cardiac, and the abdominal, each of which has a specific quality to decode the field, but also to access existential temporal spaces through the three elements that form reality, electricity, magnetism, gravity, energy, space-time, thinking, feeling, willing, imagination, inspiration, intuition, carotid gland, pineal gland, pituitary gland. The core of everything is the psyche, the intention.